This is Jenny Naslund, and in this video I'm going to be giving you a tour of our personalized language arts class that we are creating for our fourth graders. This course is created in Schoology, and what we did is we created a folder for each of our units. And you'll see on the outside of the folders we have our I can statements for each unit. I'm going to go ahead and show you Unit 4, which is one of the units that I created for our team. Within here, you'll notice that it starts off with our learning plan. I'll go ahead and jump to our learning plan real quick so you can see kind of what it looks like. You'll notice that it says, based on the results of your pretest, put a check next to the lesson that you have completed. So in a second, I'll show you our pretest. And basically, the kids will check the units that they need to do. Some of them are already pre-checked. This is our kind of our informal assessments, and I'll explain why in a few minutes of why kids are required to do those. And then there's a reflection here at the bottom for the kids to complete. So that's our learning plan. Every kid, when they start the unit, and our plan is for our units to take about 2 weeks, every kid's going to take our pretest. And the cool thing about our pretest is that we have our skills here, or our stories, but then within these stories, you'll notice these little videos, and these are actual audio recordings where we recorded ourselves reading the stories because we did not want a kid's reading ability to affect their ability to show us that they understood the specific skills that we were testing them on. And not only do we have the audio recording of us reading the questions, but we also have the feedback feature being used in Schoology. So when a kid would take this test, if the kid would get the question wrong, they would get the feedback, you need to review the skill of summarizing. Or if they got it right, they get the feedback, congratulations, you understand the skill of summarizing. Now, in our pretest, we have 2 questions, at least 2 questions for each of the learning targets that we are addressing in the unit. If a kid gets both of them correct, then they're able to click that yes, they understand that learning target. If they get one of them wrong, they still have to do that skill and practice it. Now, for each of our skills, we have a folder for each unit. So each unit has a skills folder, a genre study folder, a writing folder, a grammar folder, and a word study folder. And then we have our final test at the very end. We go ahead and go into one of these skills. For the first 2 weeks, we're working on fix-it-up monitoring and summarizing information. And within each of these folders, you'll notice that there's a bunch of different activities and then a discussion board. Now, we tried to get different types of activities. Some of them are things like take notes or watch a PowerPoint. Some of them are actual videos they can watch. They get to choose which one they want to do, and then they post it in the discussion board. Now, at the very bottom of here is our summary or our poster, our quiz that tests both the fix-it-up monitoring skill and the summarizing skill. Even if a kid gets 100% on the 2 questions in the pretest, we say, well, that's great, you don't have to do these activities, but you still have to go ahead and take this little informal assessment. It's short, 4 questions long, but they still need to take it. And the reason for that is we don't want a kid just to guess correctly on the first 2 questions and then be done with it. So they still have to do the informal assessments as a double check so that we know that they understand that skill. You'll see the same thing here in our genre study. They have activities they get to choose from, which ones they want to complete, and then they're going to post it in the discussion board. And again, there's another informal assessment. So even if you passed in the pretest, you get to take the informal assessment. You just don't have to do the activity that goes along with it. Writing is our only one that's a little different because we decided that no matter where you're at in writing, you can improve. And there wasn't a good way to pre-test your writing skills. So all the kids go ahead and complete the writing. They have choices in how they complete it. They may not have to do a formal paper. We might have them write it up in a PowerPoint or a different type of medium. And it depends on what we're actually studying for the writing unit. But the kids all need to go ahead and complete this folder because we believe that everyone can get better in writing, and then they'll submit their final draft to us electronically. Our grammar folder, very similar to our skills folder, we have our 2 weeks, and kids can complete these really in any order, but this just kind of gives them an idea of how they might choose to complete them. So again, they get to choose activities. Some of the activities are required if they didn't pass it in the quick quiz, because we felt really strongly that those activities would help them a lot, but they also have a lot of choice of other ways that they can learn it. Again, there's a quiz for each of these to show us that they understand those concepts. And then lastly, we have a word study folder, which is very similar to the other folders that I've shown you. At the very end of the unit, the kids would take the final assessment. And one thing I forgot to mention, that with all of these informal assessments that we have written throughout that all the kids are required to take, they have to master it. They have to get 100%. And if a kid doesn't master it at 100%, then they get to go back and do a different activity, one they haven't done before, and then they can retake the quiz. Now, if the kid isn't passing it after a couple of attempts, and they've gone and done a couple of activities, that's a signal to us, oh, they need extra help. So that might be another small group, another time that we might meet with them. And we're tracking all of this information on a document, our tracking document, so we know which kids aren't passing the quiz after 1 or 2 attempts. Then at the very end of the unit, they'll take our final assessment. The final assessment, the kids have to get 80% or higher. We're anticipating that with kids getting 100% on all of our informal assessments, that they should do very well on the final assessment. If a kid does not pass it with 80%, then they're going to meet with a teacher or a volunteer or one of our other teachers in our classroom, and they're going to practice the skills. They're going to go back and review. They're going to do a bunch of things to help check that they understand it, practice it, and then they'll be able to take that test again until they get that 80%. So that's a layout of how our language arts personalized learning class is being designed. Thank you.